Okay, it's on. My first time up on the stage at this beautiful school. Okay, well, thank you. They've put me in charge of introducing the candidates, and then we'll turn it over to both the candidates and a professional in Rob Watton. So welcome, and I'll start with you, Ram, if that's okay. Please welcome Ram Vaduyapalli. I butchered that a little bit, but welcome. Thank you, Ram. Nice to see you. Thank you. I also have, I believe, do I have Linda Grez next? Thank you. Hello and welcome. Thank you. I can't see you into there, but I think, is that Judith I see? Yeah, hi, Judith Milstein. And last and certainly not least is Renee Price. Thank you. And our host this evening, our professional up at the mic, Snoqualmie City Councilman, a man of the community, a parent, I believe maybe even sent some students through this fine establishment, Rob Watton. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks. All right, good evening. I'm Rob Watton with a very loud mic, apparently. I have the privilege to be the moderator. I was planning on being here and being in your seat like the rest of you. Instead, I have no choice but for you to watch me volley uncomfortable questions to our four candidates. I hope you will be informative and find it a little amusing. In the spirit of education, tonight's program is brought to you by the letters A and Z. A is for auditorium, Z is for Zoom, and the number 4 because we have 4 candidates, and the number 3 because 3 will be seated come January. And 1 is truly the loneliest number for all of us running unopposed. So just keep that in mind. The questions I'll be asking tonight have not been seen by the candidates. However, they so desperately wanted to see them ahead of time. These were developed from input from the community, including students, parents, staff, and community members. In the interest of time, no questions will be taken from the audience. The Snow Valley Chamber's board and members have a keen interest in our schools. Tonight provides us insight on the views of each candidate and provides voters with the information they need before casting a ballot. Tonight's program is being recorded and broadcasted by Zoom, thanks to Fletcher LaCroix and the district for making this an option. If you're watching via Zoom, we appreciate you being here with us tonight. So let's begin. A round of applause for our 4 candidates being here. Now, let's get down to business. The first position is the competitive position 2. It's being held by Jeff Doy, who served on the council or on the commission school board. I'll get it right. For the last 12 years, and he has decided not to seek re-election. Please help me welcome our 2 candidates, Linda Grez, to my immediate left, and Judith Milstein. I did see our existing board member, past president of the school board, Carolyn Simpson. Would you please help give her a round of applause? 12 years in helping to make this an incredible school district. Thank you so much. Position 3 is being filled by Renee Price, unless you should write your own name in many times over. But thank you for stepping up, Renee. Renee is also my neighbor, so she can hear directly from me. And finally, in position 5 is the only one deciding to come back, Ram Vedapalli. Holly, I've got 4 years to work on that. Okay, so while the candidates must reside in the specific area of the district with corresponding seats, voters will vote for all 3 positions. The seats held by Melissa Johnson, position 1, and Gary Fancher, position 4, will be decided in 2025. Each of the 5 directors represent the entire district. We're giving the candidates only 2 minutes to answer every question. You will be asked to be very snappy. We'll rotate the order so everybody gets equal chance of speaking first. Kelly Coughlin, our CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, Snow Valley Chamber of Commerce, is a timekeeper. She's got 2 cards. One is a yellow card telling you you've got 20 seconds left. And then the other one's a red card, which means your time's up. And I'll say thank you, and we'll move on. Candidates, please help get us through all 7 questions quickly. Since we only have 1 contested race, those in position 2, Linda and Judith, you'll get a bonus question, and it'll be for 2 minutes as well. We have a hard stop at 6:50 to allow for 2 minutes closing statements from each candidate. An audience, I ask you to please hold your applause until the end. So with that, we will begin. And this one will start off with Linda, go to Judith, Renee, and Ram, just down the order here. So here's the first question. What motivates you to run for the school board, naming specific qualifications and experience you bring to this role? Linda, please.
Okay, is my mic on? Thank you. First of all, thank you to the Chamber and thank you to the school district for providing this forum. I appreciate all you did to pull this together. School board is an extremely difficult, labor-intensive role. I want to thank all the directors for their service, especially during the unprecedented COVID period. Extraordinarily stressful, unprecedented policymaking, decisions to make. And when I think of that, I think, why am I running for school board? It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. Well, I'm running because I'm passionate about education and about effective and transparent local government. Educating our kids is an investment in their future success, as well as a cornerstone of our democracy. Professional communication, open records, and honesty are fundamental to create and maintain a healthy, functional relationship between the school district and the families they serve. Parents need to know information that's relevant to help them form their best education for their child. Our district has done very well in improving student outcomes, such as graduation rates and providing opportunities to our students. I have often commended this improvement in speaking at school board meetings, but much more can be done to provide the best possible education opportunities for our students. My goal is to continue the progress the district has made to maximize student learning and engagement by investing in high-quality teaching staff and teaching and learning administrators, while bringing the district into modern transparency practices in finance and decision-making. Through my public service career as a leader in all kinds of community organizations, PTSAs, et cetera, as well as serving on Skyview Metro Parks Board for 12 years, I have both local government experience and policymaking experience and that passion for education.
Thank you. Judith.
Oh, I need to turn this on. Okay, gotta get. All right. I am motivated to run because I have 2 kids here in the district, actually at this beautiful high school. And I am passionate about ensuring all of the students in the Valley have the kind of high quality education they deserve. I am running also because I'd like to be involved in setting the priorities for the next 5 to 10 years in the district. Especially after COVID, I think that it is time to set priorities around improving student outcomes. I have been involved in my kids' schools for the last 10 years, including as PTA president at NBE in Twin Falls as well as treasurer at those as well. I've been very involved in the boosters here at the high school. I'm a super proud mentor for Empower Youth Network for the last 4 years for a local student here in the Valley. I have experience in data-driven decision-making and supply chain. And I'm just very excited about the opportunity to be on the board.
Thank you. Now over to my neighbor, Renee.
I don't know if I'm on here either. There I am.
You're
Okay.
good.
I am running for school board because I have a passion for education, for our students, for our educators, for our families. And while I'm very excited to see our schools developing and growing and building on their strengths over the last several years, I believe that I can bring a voice to that as a parent with students with my own kids who have unique needs in our district, and the long relationship with our district that I've formed through that personal experience. I've been here about the same amount of time and have done everything from room mom to advisory boards. I've worked in the district as a para, as an art teacher. I just think we have an amazing leadership team, an amazing staff, and we're going into a time of great change. And I think we're all hearing all those conversations all the time, and helping us lead that change in our district is a big part of why I would like to be there.
Thank you. Ron?
Good evening. I am really excited and happy to be here. I probably had a great experience in the last 4 years as a board member, because we truly experienced some amazing and unexpected situations. At the core of it, I'm a parent. My 2 boys have gone through the system, and I'm a community member. At the end of the day, we all want our community, our society to be rich with experiences and exposure, so that they can contribute to our society when they grow up. So it all starts from the schools. So if we can focus our energies with the right set of values and with the right set of intent, I think we all will benefit in the long term. And I'm an engineer, so education is a big part of what I believe. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to contribute and bring my experiences, bring my thought perspectives, so that we all can create a rich experience for our students. I also believe that continuous improvement is very important. So what we have done in the last 12 to 15 years is just next to amazing. So I really appreciate all the hard work that the administration has done, all the board members have done, or the community has done. So there is always change. And as you can see, we are in a changing environment. So it's all about how do we contribute? How do we bring different perspectives, voices together, so that we can create the right set of systems in place, so that we all can contribute to our society. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to go to Judith with this next question. We're going to go down the line from there. And Linda, you get to go last on this question. What are your top priorities, and how would you measure success for the district over the next 4 years?
My top priorities, if elected to the school board, are to really influence the strategic plan moving forward, kind of reaffirm what our community believes our values and vision are. I would like to see us engaging our families more in the district. I would like to see that kind of collaboration where we're reaching more into the community, and we're hearing from a variety of families, not just the ones that are as involved as some of us have had the luxury of being. I would also like to continue to grow. I'm very excited about the renewed focus, I think, on the CTE classes here at the high school. I'm excited to be involved in promoting more options for our students here, so that they can see a vision for themselves outside of high school. Maybe that's college, a four-year college, or maybe that's a trade school or other kind of training. I would also I'm also excited to see a focus on universal design learning, as well as phonics kind of being brought back into our schools. And I would like to see more of that continue to grow.
Thank you. Renee?
My top 3 things that I'd like to see happen in our district over the next couple years, include us moving more and more towards evidence-based practices in our classrooms, and really building our educators. I really believe that a culture in an organization, whether it's small or large, is top to bottom. And so I believe that in order to create youth with growth mindsets, we have to have classrooms with growth mindsets and schools and district systems with growth mindsets. And it's very easy in a system like schools to feel like that's not possible, or to feel like I've done this for a long time, so I know what I'm doing. And there are all kinds of things we all fall into. One of the most important things to me, because I think it speaks to everything else that we do, is just working towards that growth mindset, towards that continuous development that is so essential for a healthy organization. And that covers all 3, even though it's just one.
Thank you. Ron?
Well, top priorities, I typically, being on the board means that we are thinking about that 30,000 foot level thought process. We're not necessarily getting into the weeds of the action, because that is where we have the leaders in the district. So my top priorities are 3 things. 1, alignment to the vision, that is the strategic plan. So how do we truly define the strategic plan that comes from the community, from all of them, all the stakeholders? And that can be articulated in a way that the administration, the leadership can follow through their actions. Second thing is the environment. How do we create the right environment so that there is collaboration, cooperation, and success? So if we can create the right environment for the administrators, to the principals, to the teachers, to all the other supporting individuals, that is what creates the synchronicity and symbiotic relationship to really drive our goals. Third thing is access. Access means resources. It can be people, or it can be resources like this beautiful PAC facility or other facilities. So these are the 3 things that I really focus on, making sure that everybody is a professional. So everybody who's supposed to do their job can perform their job. How do we measure it? Well, there are a few things. Reports. There are lots of reports, data driven, right? So we collect more and more data every year. We have test reports. So we just have to take a look at what is the direction? Are we in alignment with our vision? Are we in alignment with the strategic plan? And what kind of more changes or tweaks that we need to do? Second thing is feedback. Feedback from all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Linda.
Great answers, everybody. My top priorities are to connect better with the families in our district. Our strategic plan is kind of expiring this year. It was 2018 through 2023. It's time to revamp that. It's time to look at that again. It's time for the whole community to help us set those targets for the next 5 years. And that's a very exciting project. We have a lot of very enthusiastic parents in this district. We've always had incredible participation in classrooms, et cetera. And so we need to engage that community better. And one of the ways you can do that is by sharing more about what the school board is doing and what the administration is doing. Love the new website. I love the new focus on information for families, but there's other ways we can improve that communication. Issaquah School District does a recap of school board meetings in a short readable blurb. You can see what the subjects are that they're talking about, what's going to be on the next agenda, what's going on, how to get involved. Right now on Tuesday, you check what the agenda is for the school board. You have like 24 hours to decide if you're going to sign up to talk on Thursday. I think we need a little bit more runway for parents to be more involved in the community. And I think there's great opportunities with technology to do that. So I think if we all work together, we can work towards setting those targets that we can all get behind. Obviously, we have to focus on academic and mental health recovery. The strategic plan got hijacked by COVID, so there's a lot of reasons why it didn't happen the way we planned. We need to focus on what's best for each student. There are many different ways that students learn, and we need to have that flexibility so that teachers have the resources to be able to meet that child's needs. I also think we have to deal with facilities. We have some aging schools that need replacement, and we have classrooms. We don't have enough classrooms for our students. It's a good problem to have. We're a growing community that way, but we need to figure out how we can get students into classrooms and we can have that teacher ratio that goes with that classroom size.
All right, thank you. You're doing all fabulous job. I'm going to take a brief moment and introduce a couple people who are in the room that did not get recognized yet, and that's on me. First of all, our Snoqualmie Valley School Superintendent, Dan Schlattfeld. Thank you for being here, Dan. Person who keeps track of all the money, and this is really important to you school board directors. Ryan Stokes, Assistant Superintendent, I also saw in the room. Thank you. And I know that sometimes those of us who sit on city councils skip out, but it's because very good reasons that we have other meetings going on. One of them slipped out. I can see Mary Miller from City of North Bend. Thank you for being here. And I presume the reason why Roberta is in the room is Rob has official duties over in North Bend as well. So thank you for being here, and a great promoter, longtime part of Highline School District. Thank you, Roberta McFarland, for being here. All right, well, candidates, the questions start getting a little slippier. So shall we move on? There are going to be times when you disagree with other board members, the administration, or community members. That's an inherent part of your role as one of 5 members of the school board. What will be your approach? And we're going to start off with Rob. We're going to go the other direction.
Oh, wow. Well, we are all people. We all have opinions. So that doesn't mean that one is right or wrong, but it's all about understanding the perspective. And that is the most important thing that I believe in, is to listening to each and every opinion, information that they have, and to more about, it's not about bringing the problem to the table, but it's about what are the options to solve. It's very easy to identify a problem, but it's the strength, that it's the maturity or the vision of contributing to the community is coming up with options. So nobody is perfect, and I don't think any system will be perfect. So there's always room for changes. There is always room for updates. So how do we go about it? And that's my philosophy, is We are open to listening to everyone's opinion. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that if there is a different perspective that helps achieve our vision, why not? And that's my belief. So if there is a disagreement, it's okay, but we just have to come together, sit down, understand what the challenges are, what is driving that opinion. We need to understand that is more important than coming up with a solution. Is what experiences that person or a group has experienced in order to have a certain opinion. So I'm going to be general about it because there is no solution. We all have to treat each other with respect, and we come together.
Thank you. Renee.
Conflict is such a normal part of life, right? And it is even more so a lot of times when you're dealing with a school environment where you have people's children under your responsibility and in your care. And so I think one of the just important things is really crucial in these environments is to listen and to value that sometimes it's the outlier voice that is the information that you need to have, and perspective taking from a variety of stakeholders in a variety of roles is essential to be able to find solutions that actually work. And we can't know if we don't ask the questions, if we don't have the conversations, if we're afraid to say something that someone might disagree with, or if we never get to hear what somebody disagrees with us about, then we really all lose out on the opportunity to forge forward in a way that is positive and productive and meaningful.
Thank you. Judith.
Okay. I think that disagreement, as Renee said, is just a part of life. And I think a big part of being on the school board is having the ability to listen, to avoid the danger of a single story like my own. This is just one perspective, and I would want to be open to hearing from our entire community. As far as when there's disagreement, I would assume that it would be a respectful, time to listen to one another, to hear where people are coming from. I would be asking questions to understand more where someone is coming from. I would be very aware of what I may not know, bringing in what my biases are, what I may not know about someone else's experience. I do think, though, at some point you have to reach a decision. Hopefully you've found some way to have consensus, but the important thing is that your community feels valued and heard, and that everyone has a chance to be understood. I feel very strongly that being on the school board is very much a nonpartisan position. I have gone out of my way to avoid seeking any kind of endorsements from local politicians or state politicians, because I do want to be able to hear from the entire community and for them to know that I am here to serve everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
Great question. There's an organization called the Washington State School Directors Association that provides great guidance and resources for people to learn how to be great school board directors. Their first standard is to conduct business in a fair, respectful, and responsible manner. I think to avoid a lot of disagreements, you have to align with what the goals and the values are in your organization. Once you're aligned on the goals and the values, then it's a lot easier to find the strategy to solve your problems or to address your problems. If you don't have alignment on those goals and values, you're never going to reach a consensus. I believe in listening to diverse opinions. I know there's a phrase that you can kill something by putting in a committee, But I, to the contrary, believe that if you get a group of 5 people together with completely diverse opinions, you will actually come out with the best possible solution. I love listening to people who have really innovative ideas and who are not afraid to step outside of problems and try to solve them. It's important to not be closed-minded. In my leadership roles, I find that being honest is the best option. Sometimes that's painful, sometimes that's awkward. Like Brene Brown says, clear is kind, right? You have to be honest about what the issues are if you really hope to solve them. And that means knowing what the causes are and the impacts. So I find if you approach problems like that in terms of working backwards from what you share together, you can solve a lot of problems.
All right. Thank you. You know, I have a deep admiration for the school board, and I get to serve on city government. Our things are a little more clear. They're a little more, you know, higher level sort of decision, being that we, you know, deal with similar things. The budget, we deal with other things. You get to deal with the feet on the ground, the boots on the ground. Transportation, you run it. We don't run it. You run it. 10 schools, right? Something like 10 schools and thousands of kids, and your decisions really have an impact. Your volunteers in what you do. You know, it's probably the most honorable local position. You can't get any more granular than the decisions that this board makes, and yet you're setting the direction for the future. So thank you for doing that. I mean, it's truly, truly amazing. Okay, the next question is this, and we're going to start with Renee and then come back this way. I may have kind of changed the direction, but just bear with me. The demographics of our district are rapidly changing, as demonstrated in the most recent survey of students. 65% of 10th graders, white. 55% of 8th graders are white. 45% of 6th graders are white. The point is this: our community is changing rapidly. And it's just one of the many challenges that we have with public education, is how to make it relevant, how to make it so that it meets the needs of our students first and the families. With this in mind, how do you believe the district should address issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Renee first.
Well, core value for me is that every person in our community should feel like they belong there, should feel like they have a place there, that they're safe there, that they can thrive there, and that they have communities within our communities. And so in light of changing demographics and even controversial topics that come up, I really believe that we have some opportunities to intentionally recruit educators so that our students can see themselves in their classrooms, teachers, and their school leadership. I believe that we have an opportunity to dive into maybe a more contemporary and diverse list of literature that we explore. These are things that the board doesn't necessarily have to do it, but as a value, I believe that we should be exposing our children to the breadth of the world that they're going to enter, and not, as much as Snoqualmie is wonderful, not keeping it all close. They need to be aware of the diversity that's around them.
Thank you. Judith.
I think it just starts with listening to what our students are saying about how they are feeling in our schools. It's involving intentionally looking for ways to involve families in their school community. I feel like Timber Ridge Elementary does a really good job of that. I know that at the high school recently we had a multi-language family night, and that drew quite a few people. And I think that's another way to help families and students, more importantly, feel like they belong here. I had the opportunity over the summer to speak to quite a few of our principals, and they are just so impressive. And I wish that more families knew the level of detail that they dive into with their students. And a lot of what I heard from them was about connectedness and the students feeling connected. And I think that when you're thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's a big part of it. I think Renee touched on this too, but making sure that our curriculum is representative of who we have in our schools, whether that's books in the library or books that the students are reading in class, books that teachers are reading to them. I think it's finding opportunities for different clubs. Like I think about some of the neat clubs that we have here at the high school that help to represent all of our students. So I think really it's being intentional at this point about how we are addressing some of those issues. When I think about inclusion too, I think about our kids in the special education program and making sure that we have those students in the least restrictive environment so that they are a part of our community. And I think that our other students in the class benefit from having those students with them. Thank you.
Linda.
Oh, great answers. So in my mind, equity doesn't mean that each student gets the same thing, but equity means they get what they need to succeed. It is going to be really challenging because we're going to have more and more diverse cultures, and more diverse needs are being identified. But I think this is the future. This is teaching our students to be world citizens. And that's so important that the school board sets the tone and the policies to support the academic instruction so that it allows each student to get what they need to succeed. There are a few other things we can do besides the great ideas that were already mentioned. We can review our hiring practices to make sure that they reflect cultural awareness and respect. We can provide more support to our teachers so that they know how to use techniques that allow all to contribute. And that means changing some of your practices. If you don't just call the kid with the hand up first, you have to kind of, as Judith said, use intention to make sure that students are all feeling comfortable and welcome and able to contribute what they can. You can create different classroom rules and groupings and organize them differently so that each one has an opportunity to flourish in the classroom environment. It is going to require some cultural change in our academic classrooms, but we can also do things like continue our English language multi-language learners program. Those students need that support, and when they get that support, they thrive, and that's awesome because they are part of our community and we should be supporting them for what they need to succeed. Lastly, I'll just say, I'll repeat what was said before about the curriculum and our books that students read. They should reflect the diversity of our community and the diversity of the world. These kids are going to be world global citizens, and that can only make them better to understand that there are different viewpoints and different cultures.
Thank you. Ram?
Well, I think many times we all misunderstand what DEI is. DEI doesn't mean just a cultural differences. It's socioeconomic, behavior, language, all of those things come into factor. So there is no one solution, but at the end of the day, we need to think about how do we create the exposure? How do you create the environment so that we all feel that we are valued and we are respected and we are included? So it's not an issue, it's a mindset change. And that's what I believe is the key. One of the things that I always share is ask then rather than assume. So we need to ask people, all the folks who want to be part of the ecosystem. Ask them, what is it that they need? And you create the right resources for them to succeed. So equity is like we defined, it's not giving the same thing to everyone, but it's truly understanding what their needs are so that we can provide the right support system, right resources, right environment so that they can flourish and thrive. One thing that I was thinking about is, I mean, I was surprised to see that such a big change in our demographics. I think one of the things we need to do is we need to start from elementary school so that everyone from the elementary school are getting that exposure so that inclusion becomes easy. It is built in. There is no, there is nothing new that you have to do as they grow through the system.
Thank you. Okay. The next one you may think came from Ryan Stokes, but it did not. It has to do around school finances. And those of us in public service, we know that, on one side, we've got salaries that we have to take care of, people that have been in service a long time in public service, a lot of pressure from, just everybody's budget and in trying to keep salaries to pace and with other districts and being competitive, and a lot of things you don't have control over. And property taxes are capped at a 1% increase, yet salaries in public service sector is going up at a clip of anywhere from 5 to 10% a year. How do you make ends meet? And public entities, local governments, you can't go into a deficit spending. You have to have a balanced budget. So it makes for a lot of tough decisions. So this is not an easy question. And I am going to start with Judith. The need will always be greater than the resources. How will you approach this to ensure a balanced budget?
Yeah, one of the most important jobs of a school board director is oversight on the budget and the finances. That is definitely a role that I would take very seriously. Thankfully, we do have good people in place in the district that keep a tight watch on that on behalf of the board, and then the oversight is involved. I mean, really, it comes down to keeping the cuts as far from the classroom as possible. It's looking for ways to be more cost effective. It certainly will involve making hard decisions, and that's to be expected. If you are in tune with what your community's values and vision are for the district, then you should be able to directly align your budget to that vision and values and what your stated goals are. So that I think that as long as you're aligned there, that does make it a little bit easier to see maybe where you could make necessary cuts. As you mentioned, there are just difficult decisions to make. I do feel strongly that I know sometimes in board meetings this comes up every so often, and I'll just say here that I'm a strong proponent for the 7-period day at the high school, and that wouldn't be an area that I would look to cut. I believe that the incredible classes that we have here, the 7-period day enable the students to have the chance to explore them, and that would be one area that I would attempt to avoid. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda.
You said it's a really hard question, so did we get to pass on?
No, because I may have a follow-up question to this one.
Great. So, we're very blessed. We're very well community, and so I don't know if you realize year, as many other districts did. That said, to me, the priority is always teaching and making sure we have the best possible teachers, because that is the front line. Those are the people that are going to have the most impact on our students. That said, state funding just has to be addressed. And I think about this a lot. We really have to rally our very educated, very intelligent families to just make that happen. Now, I know that we got things stalled with the McCleary decision. We didn't get everything we wanted, but that was actually a huge step forward. And that actually gives me hope that there is an end game in sight where the school will fund basic education, which is their paramount duty. I know I sound like a dreamer, but I didn't think that the Highway 1890 bridge could ever get built, and that's being built. So there actually miracles do happen. And I know that if we work together and if we rally parents to be more engaged, we can increase state funding, because the inequity in our state is astounding and horrifying. Especially with school facilities. There are districts that cannot afford to build a school and they need a school. So I really think we have to rally together to work on that. I do think the public needs more information on where our budget goes. I joked at the public hearing for the budget this past August that it's a 200-page spreadsheet. I can't possibly give any meaningful public input to that because the information is not in a narrative form. Issaquah does a narrative form of budget that helps people understand where the money is being spent, what the categories are. I think there's a long way we can go to allow the public to know what those spending patterns are, and then they can give good input on them.
Thank you. Over to Rob, please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank the community, because without their financial support through the levies and the bond, I don't think we would have been able to provide the resources that we have for our students here in the district. It's a tough place to be, because creating a balanced budget is not easy. For the last 10 years, I have to give credit to the previous board and the administration to have a healthy fund balance that we are able to draw in tough times in the last this year and the past year. So a couple of things is, it's not just about the teachers, but also there is a lot of other resources that we need to bring together in order to support the teachers, paraeducators, counselors, multilingual language specialists, behavioral specialists. There is lots of things going on in our school district. So because of the levies, and we are able to provide that high level of support and education to our students. One thing I do want to make sure that we do share all the information with the public. It may not be the right format that is easy to consume. It's not especially our CFO provides great reports in the board meetings that really guide us as to where we are heading when it comes to financial health of our district. So I think it's all about, it's not about access. It's about just having understanding of those numbers. And we can always improve on, giving a better format so that it's easier to consume. But I think we do a great job in to make sure that we are responsible and fiscally thoughtful about our spend.
Thank you. Renee, please.
I have always thought budgeting is one of the most difficult conversations to have in school, because on one side you do have really very demonstrated needs, and on the other hand you have not enough dollars to figure out how to do that. And I think as technology develops and as teaching practices become more evidence-based, we have more and more research, we'll have an opportunity to make those fit a little bit better. But I agree, it's in some ways a very public issue. In the board, we need to work with what we have and been very fortunate, as you said, to have a fund balance that is able to help us through some tough times. We have to be able to continue doing that. And I know there always are tough decisions. At the same time, we are not fully funded. We use a lot of our local levies to do things that are pretty basic, like nurses in all of our schools. To meet some of the special education needs, to meet some of the highly capable needs, to specialists and all the things. That should not be coming out of our local levies. That should be coming out of state funding. And until we have enough of a push that says, we really want you to fully fund education, we're going to continue to struggle meeting needs in our schools in the budgets that we have available.
Right. Thank you. All right, Kelly, I'm going off script now because we've got a couple extra minutes, but I think this one's really critical and thought-provoking. COVID has had such a dramatic impact on kids and schools. And through it, there's this whole cachet of kids that have gone, fallen off the records. They aren't attending in person. They're not attending remotely. They're not homeschooled. They're simply missing. And that has an impact on your budget. Snoqualmie Valley School District has fared better than most. In fact, probably above average. Here's the question for you, and Linda, you get to lead off this time on this one. And that is, what are the things that we need to prioritize, or you need to prioritize as a board director to ensure that kids stay engaged, that it impacts the funding that comes back to the schools?
That's a great question. I think we have to face the fact that COVID was a traumatic experience for our entire community, and we are all engaged in healing on one level or another. I know sometimes I think to myself of what I did before COVID, and I'm kind of shocked at how much has changed. I think we're doing a great job in recognizing the mental health needs of our students, and I think we have to continue doing that. We have to continue to engage them and make school an inclusive and kind place. A lot of kids suffer from anxiety. They suffer from all kinds of traumatic experiences going back into the classroom, and this impacts everything from band to every class. We have to continue that effort to make school the place they want to be. And I think part of that is connecting with them on a social emotional level. That's one of the things I loved about Dr. Gibbon, was he would appear on campus and kids would run up to him with smiles on their faces. We need our administration to continue that feeling of making kids feel special and feel welcome. I think our team does amazing jobs at that. But I think that that's really going to be key to making students want to come here. And the other part of that is getting parents to want to come back here. And to me, that begins with trust. I think we have to be a lot more honest and a lot more forthcoming about what we're dealing with in order to gain that trust back from families whose students are still unable to show up to school each day and face large classrooms or big schools. So I guess I would listen to what experts have to say. I think we have a lot of great mental health resources, and that's what we have to do.
Thank you. I'm going to go down to Ram next.
Well, like you said, Rob, COVID did not help anyone, not only schools, but also, adult individuals also. We all went through a very tough time physically, mentally, emotionally. So I think the students or our kids have suffered the most, probably. I think in the last couple of years, we have done all the things that we think are helping through, of course, the best practices. We have WASDA, we have NSBA, we have different resources that we seek out to, rather than just depending on our own experiences. So there are a lot of resources. Even OSPI and the state budget included enough funds to add additional resources to truly help social emotional behavioral aspects of our students. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight is attendance. I think when you talked about kids are not coming to school or not even attending the school, I think that outreach is the key at the end of the day. How do we outreach to the parents, the families, the community, and ensure that all the students have access and they know they are welcome, they are wanted, to make sure that is portrayed. Second thing is engagement within the school is all about individual attention to understand what is really the root cause of the state of the student is, and customizing and personalizing those support systems. And that's why we have so many resources that we have added in the last couple of years just to address those issues.
Thank you. Renee.
It's a little, my mind kind of disconnects this a little bit from the budget, because clearly when we're talking about engaged students and attendance, the budget is impacted and that matters, but it's not as important as whether or not we're engaging students and if they are wanting to be in our schools and if our families are wanting their students to be in our schools. So that's where I would go with this, we do need to make sure that students are engaged, that they feel connected with people, that they things like that are kind of everyday things that we say about kids going to school. But I would go one step further and talk more about building trust with families. A lot of the people who leave schools and don't connect, it is a trust issue with the school. They have tried to deal with an issue that they cared about that was impacting their family, their students, their community, and it didn't work. So they left. And they don't feel like they feel like they can do better on their own than what they can get in the school. Now, I know, and that what we have in the schools are amazing, but we need them to be amazing for that child, not just for children. And that can be a really hard thing to achieve, and yet it is the core of why we exist. So making our schools places where each individual student have a place that and a path that is right for them is crucial to making sure that students are in the building and building trust with the community and the families.
All right, thank you. And finally, Judith.
Okay, I'll start with enrollment. I think it starts by finding out why enrollment is down. I think it's asking our families, how can we better meet your needs? How can we keep you connected to the district? I'm a big fan of the parent partnership program because I think that can be kind of a middle ground for some families that may not want to be all in on our public schools, but we're still keeping them connected. We're providing them services that frankly their taxpayer dollars are paying for. And maybe they could gain trust and they could become more invested in our district and join us full-time at the middle school or full-time at the high school. I'll speak to and also just to mention that there could be other programs that we could try to pilot here. I've heard of outdoor education, project-based learning. I think it's just something that we just have to keep diving into. I like what Renee said about it being about the individual student. As far as attendance goes, I think it's avoiding the daily attendance average number. And again, looking at the individual student and finding out why they are not attending on a regular basis. It's talking with families, not at them. It's understanding where they're coming from without judgment. I mean, the whole goal is to serve our students and to improve the outcomes for them. I loved hearing about an example at Timber Ridge from the summer where they had a group of students that were kind of within that 5-mile radius. And so they didn't qualify for a bus, but it was a major barrier for getting those kids to school. So the principal really advocated for getting a bus implemented. And that was a huge relief for 40 to 50 students and their families. I think it's maybe getting a student a mentor or having a counselor meet the student at the bus loop to get them in, to let them know that they are wanted and welcome in our school.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next question, we're going to mix up the order. So it's going to go to Renee first, then to Ram, then Linda and Judith. In your opinion, what is effective communication and collaboration between the school board, parents, staff, and the community at large?
Effective communication between the stakeholders.
Right.
I think that it is at its core about disclosure, transparency, honesty, and a certain amount of mutual respect and trust that you have to build. And it takes time sometimes to build that. Sometimes it has to be repaired. But without those things, effective communication becomes very difficult. That being said, there are a lot of systems we can put in place that make it effective communication much easier. We have Parent Square, we have a new website, we have increasingly parent perspective taken notes coming out from the school through newsletters and things like that. And so for me, it always has seemed very much about perspective taking, not what I want you to know, although that's important. What do you need to know from me? And how do we find that out and then provide that information? And how do we provide it in a way in which you feel respected and informed? And so that's really, I think, and that has to go kind of from all sides. Also really being patient with the moments of frustration. There's a lot of talk in school chatter in the background about how frustrating those people are, how frustrating that group is. And that's okay. We can still be respectful and listen and help.
Thank you. Ram?
Yes. Well, it's a very misunderstood word is what is effective communication mean actually, right? In my mind, it is about getting the information when you need it. And at the end of the day, it's as simple as that. So to that effect, I think the district has done, we have spent a ton of resources and put focus on communication. And to start with is the updated website. It was a huge project to create a new website with a new navigation and import all the content. I understand. I'm in technology, so I truly understand what is a big load it is. The Parent Square, I think, is a great way to communicate because it really focuses on personalizing the information that is relevant to you as a parent. If you are a middle school parent or an elementary school parent or a high school parent, so the Parent Square has really helped in my mind. We also focus on community partnership with different organizations, nonprofits or governmental organizations like the councils and the chamber. And I believe that we are open to anybody to come to the district office or the schools to have a conversation. So that is definitely, if there is something missing, we are there to be to share the information. And the last one is being present and accessible. So many of our leaders within the district are present in public events, and that itself is a having the access and being able to communicate with the community. So we are doing all the things that is needed, but if there are areas of improvement, absolutely, we are open to listen.
Excellent. Linda.
Okay, so you have the mechanics of communication. I think that's dramatically improving. I think Parent Square is a great centralized location for getting information out. That's improving. It's still very fractured at the middle school and high school level, especially as students enter those schools. The parents are bewildered because they don't know that, oh, the clubs don't start until October. Information like that is really hard to get when you haven't been in those schools before. So I think we can improve that a little bit. As far as the other direction, collecting feedback and information, I think we have some way to go here to reach a better place. Collecting feedback in the past, the thought stream activities and all, really dissatisfying. Seeing a word salad of your input that you spent a little while putting in is very frustrating, and not feeling like the qualitative information is being valued or weighed in any sense. For instance, the district's superintendent search process this past year, with all due respect to the superintendent, I love you, you're great, but we kind of have to revisit this a little bit. The superintendent search process was not a superintendent search process. It was a survey of vague generalities about leadership, and there were some focus groups that ended up with more vague generalities about leadership. And it ended up with a lot of people feeling like it was a very hollow, preordained process that was not actually a superintendent search process. And I think that results in a lack of trust. People get really frustrated if you take the time to do a focus group and then the actual results of the focus group don't really get digested in any way. I don't want to revisit the past too much. I'm forward thinking, but we have to learn from our mistakes. And as glad as I am to see Dan as our superintendent, I think we have to move forward with a little bit more integrity and a little bit more two-way communication that is respected.
Thank you. Judith.
Okay, just a few thoughts on effective communication. I think it starts by having a culture where people can be honest, where teachers can be honest with principals, where principals can be honest with district administration. Also, where frankly parents can be honest about the experience that they may be having in our schools. If I think about a school board meeting and where we can be more effective with conveying information, I think we can use friendlier terms. So instead of saying ESSER dollars, we say COVID relief dollars. I didn't know what ESSER was until I started listening to the school boards. I would be completely lost, and I would feel like that wasn't the place for me to receive information. I think that we normalize budget talk. So at every school board meeting, we're talking about the budget and where we are and having honest discussions about that so that there aren't big surprises in July and August. I think it's referencing on a regular basis what our key goals are. That's one thing I would really look forward to if I serve on the board, and that's just really paring down that strategic plan, prioritizing what is important for student outcomes, and then for the board and district administration to be truly accountable to moving the ball forward. So in order to do that, we need metrics around those goals, and we need to really decide what is important. I think it's being honest about where our test scores are and being you know, we have a lot of room. I'm getting the yellow card on a really important topic. Thank you. I also just want to say that rumors fill the void when there is a lack of effective communication. And I think it's so important for principals in the district to be ahead of that. I think we do a good job, but it is something to be aware of. The public will kind of make up a story if you're not delivering the truth up front.
Thank you. You know, as a public servant, having open communications is one mandated by state law, Open Public Meetings Act, meaning that you can't make decisions behind closed doors, which means, and everybody alluded to this in a certain way, is that when there is a void of information, there's a lack of trust. And there's always that space in between. How do you fill that? And I deeply appreciate Dan stepping in, and as our superintendent, I think he's done a fine job, and I want to thank him. But this is a tough question that I'm going to ask. And the previous school superintendent was dismissed with just a little more than a year in the role. Obviously, the board's choice and their management of this role sets the tone of how the district is managed on a day-to-day basis. How do you believe the school board should handle assessing the superintendent or just the entire management of the district performance and following up with the priorities that you as the school board set? Not an easy question, but I think it's important for us, you know, to hear kind of your point of view, and there is no wrong answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer. So my sheet says Ram first. So you're the experienced one. We'll go Ram, Renee, Judith, and Linda.
First of all, I'm going to say that it was not an easy decision to be made. We have a great respect for every experience our previous superintendent had. You know, even though board meetings are public meetings, but there are a lot of conversations that happen. There are a lot of information that unfortunately cannot be shared. And like a city council will have their own, you know, guidelines or guardrails of what information is available or not. But any information that needs to be shared has been shared, in my mind. It's a very tough decision. It was a tough decision because at the end of the day, everybody has their own styles of management. And we had some, you know, different expectations, and the expectations were not truly met. And our focus was teaching and learning, specifically after coming out of the pandemic. It was very critical for us to really put a lot of pressure, focus, not pressure, focus on teaching and learning, because that was the key to bringing our students back to, you know, the learning loss. And that was our primary focus. And some of the things were not happening. And it was not a overnight decision. It was a very, very, very tough decision. You know, the impact is deeply felt, understood, and respected. So all I can say is there were no easy answers.
Thank you. Renee.
I think anytime you're talking about managing someone and looking over their performance, you're talking about having already worked with that person to find agreements. You work together to form the strategic plan. You work together to form the mission and the vision, and you work together to talk about how to execute that and how that's going. And if you consistently find that the mission, the vision, the goals, the strategy are not taking the priority that you have all set together, then, you have to start looking at whether or not that's the right person in that role. I say trembling, would not want to go through that process, but sometimes that is what needs to happen. And I commend our team for looking at that. Now, whether I was not part of that process, so I can't say, oh, I would have agreed. I have no idea. I was not in the room, but I do commend them for looking out for our district in the best way that they knew how, and making a tough decision that they knew would bring a lot of disappointment and frustration. So.
Thank you. Judith.
I guess I'll say that I frankly don't spend a lot of time thinking about Dr. Gibbon anymore at this point. I think he's moved on. I'm hopeful that our district can move on. I thought he was a very friendly, affable superintendent. I definitely enjoyed talking with him and interacting with him. I thought communication on Facebook improved under his watch. But I did not work with him. I was not behind the scenes. I was just an involved, interested parent. I will say that I didn't care for the communication that went out about the situation. I feel that could have been, I wish that had gone differently, but again, I was not there. I was not a part of that. I do prefer to look forward, and I am thankful that we had Dan Schlotfelt, a seasoned educator, a seasoned leader who knows our schools, knows our situation, and he was willing to step into that role. I can't speak. I honestly don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. I can't even speak to how it all went down at this point. I do prefer just to look forward. I understand needing to make sure this doesn't happen next time. So I will say that if I were assessing a superintendent moving forward, I would expect that there would be clear metrics in place that we had all agreed on. If he didn't meet those metrics, on repeatedly, if we were not making improvements, if our students were not having the kind of outcomes that we were wanting as a community, then that would be another conversation. But that would be fairly kind of stated out up front. It wouldn't be about how we feel about the guy or woman in that position. Feelings out of it, I really would depend on what the data showed.
Thank you. Linda.
As Judith said, they can separate different parts of this. There was the abrupt termination. There was the 3 months of wondering what had happened. Was he ill, etc. Then there was the communication that, in my view, still is completely unprofessional. No HR professional would tell you to publish the letter that is still available on our website, I believe, unless that got changed in last week. It was completely inappropriate. It savors of personal animus. Not only does that do damage to the district moving forward, who wants to go somewhere where they're going to throw you under the bus after you sign a settlement agreement that requires you to not talk about it? I just think the whole handling of it was a disaster. And I only think about it because we have to figure out ways to move forward so that doesn't happen, whether that's requiring the school board to put a written plan in place of expectations and targets and have regular assessments during the year, which I believe is what the law says you have to do. And then, when those assessments happen, it is very common in business and in universities and everything else. If it's not a good fit, that happens, and that's totally expected. And what you do is you say, hey, this isn't working out. You've got X number of months to find another job, as we did with a previous superintendent who had a long time to find another job. And you make it work that way, but you do not use the words that were used in a public statement. I want to move on, but we're paying $600,000 also for the settlement when there was no cause for the termination. But as a result, we're paying $600,000 over 2 years for that. And I want to move on, but I feel like this is a big thing for trust and we have to move forward in a better way.
All right. Well, thank you. We've come to the end of my interrogation, with the exception, Ram, you get a free ride on this next one. You don't have to answer. Renee, free ride. Just keep that in mind, that competitive politics is a good thing too. And we're very fortunate to have 2 outstanding candidates vying for 1 seat. Unfortunately, only 1 will move on. So wasn't my choice. You'd all have a seat. We'd add an extra seat, but unfortunately, the rules are the rules. So with that in mind, the last question is for the 2 opposing candidates. And following this, then each candidate will have a 2-minute closing remark. Maybe it's about me. I don't know. It's my deficiencies. Okay, so the last question is this. For Linda Grez and Judith Milstein, in that order, please describe why voters should choose you.
And we have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay, first of all, I'll say Judith Milstein is awesome. I've worked with her closely at several schools. She's amazing, and I totally respect her and think she's an amazing person. Absolutely. I am a parent of a 2023 Mount Sinai graduate, a passionate public education supporter, someone who is addicted to volunteering and being part of that invisible fabric of support groups that enrich and create our community. I've managed to take on leadership in every PTA I've been involved with, booster clubs, school bond campaigns, etc. My long service record has been positively recognized by the district, and I've been very honored by invitations to serve on important district teams such as the High School Visioning and Design Committee, interview teams for principals and for superintendents. That was a great honor, and I felt like the district appreciated my service and my good intentions towards the school district. I do feel like my outspokenness is sometimes seen as a detractor because I'm honest about my impressions about things. What I would give you is honesty, and I would also recommend that that is required to move forward. To make improvements, you have to be honest about what the situations are, and you have to have courage to be able to address them. So that's what I would bring to you if you decide to elect me. And I appreciate this opportunity to talk.
Thank you.
Okay.
Judith, please.
And I will also say that I do highly respect Linda's service to our community. She's obviously been very involved as well. I am running because I currently have 2 kids in the district who I see have arrived from their fall sports, and I don't know why that makes me tear up, but I am running because I am highly invested in this district. I have children here. I want to be a part of planning the next 5 to 10 years for the rest of our students here. I'm passionate about ensuring all of our kids have the kind of high quality education they deserve. I appreciate this district so much, and my children have had a wonderful experience here. And I believe there are improvements that we can make to make it even better. And that's why I'm running. I do see this as a nonpartisan position. I do want to represent the entire community. I believe that my years of volunteer experience have enabled me to have great relationships in the community with other parents, with teachers, and with other staff. I believe that I have a good reputation here for being someone that's approachable, that does listen, and I believe that is a big part of serving on the board. one of my primary focus and areas that I hope to influence is just around improving student outcomes. Some of that's in test scores. Some of that is just an experience in our classrooms. I recognize the other important parts of being on the board, whether that's deciding on policy or overseeing the budget. Those are all so important, and I will take those seriously. But my primary focus will just be on student experience and student outcomes and making this just an even better district for all the kids to come.
Right. Thank you. Before we hear the closing 2 minutes from each of the candidates, I want to thank the Snoqualmie Valley School District's Superintendent Dan Schlattfeld, his amazing staff that makes everything happen, including Fletcher LaCroix for setting things up today. I also want to thank the taxpayers and the voters that gave us this amazing venue and an amazing school that is like second to none. And, you know, that's probably part of the reason why kids have not disappeared in the numbers from our district. There are still a lot of schools that need to be rebuilt, and you've got that ahead of you. To those of us here in the audience, in the auditorium, but also those that are joining us by Zoom or later by Facebook, thank you for caring enough about this democratic process to tune in or be here. Our future voters in the room, the representation from our business community through the Snow Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kelly Coughlin and Michael, thank you so much. And the members of the chamber that care. Candidates, you get 2 minutes each. But here's the order. And I did not pick this. This came out of some random selection that happened in a dark room somewhere. So it'll be Renee Price, Judith Milstein, Linda Grez, Ram Dutt, Bedula Polly. Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, so leading off, Linda Grez, please.
I thought you just said it was.
No, that he's going last. I mean, everybody was just holding their breath to make sure I got his last name correctly.
You said Renee, Judith, Linda, Rob.
Oh, I'm on the wrong page. That's why. You are right. Sorry about that. I just changed the order. No, Renee Price, please.
Well, thank you for all being here or later watching. It is a pleasure to get to talk about education with you. People who know me know I could talk about education forever. And I've been able to do that because of my involvement in this district for way longer than I expected when I first started out. And it's been an exciting thing to see our district grow and develop and focus more and more and more on students and to move our alignment towards evidence and not just guesswork. There's so much, the big picture is there's always a lot of change in education as a whole, and we're just one part of that. And so a lot of the influences go well beyond our community. And I look forward to being able to continue moving help. I mean, a board is a group of people. You're never just one person. So to be able to help continue moving our district towards student focus more and towards family and community engagement. My core statement I've used 1,000 times and has led my advocacy and my work for years is that we should have a healthy learning and development in our community. That should be the focus of what we do. Healthy learning and development for our students, our teachers, our families. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Judith Milstein.
Okay. I kind of had a closing statement already, but I would like to share what I believe the strengths are of our district. And I think it starts with our teachers. Over 56% of our teachers have master's degrees, and they on average have 11 plus years of experience. I think they are the jewel in our crown in this district, and that includes our principals and support staff. I think another strength in our district are incredible partners, Snoqualmie Valley Schools Foundation, Empower Youth Network. I have a special place in my heart for them. Friends of Youth and Compass, our incredible PTAs and our volunteers. I really think that they are such a big part of why this is a fabulous district to send your kids to. I'm very excited about the renewed focus on career and technical education. I love the idea of students having options and getting our kids into businesses to see what kind of future they can have. It doesn't have to be a 4-year degree. We have incredible classes to support that pathway as well. But I'm just so excited to be, and I hope that I will be involved in growing those opportunities for our students. As far as long-term vision goes, I see us building our enrollment because we have heard from the community and we have adapted to what they need, what our students need. I see our students leaving the high school with a plan for 4-year or for additional education in some other way because they had options in our district. I would like to see our students improving on the SBAC scores. I mean, the expectation should be at least 85% of our kids are meeting standard on SBAC, and that is not where we are right now. We need to face that reality and dig in. And I would like to see long-term that our board is spending time during our board meetings on more student outcome focused discussion. I think that when you shine a light on things, that is where you see the improvement. And I ask you to vote for me.
Thank you. Linda Grez.
I agree with everything Judith said. And her kids are great and so cool to see young people here. Young people give me so much hope. You guys are amazing. You are thoughtful. You have integrity. You have dreams, and you're going to make incredible things happen. Our community is really the same way. We have a lot of new people in the community. We have new partners. We have new cultures. We should be using those strengths to make our connections better within the community. I love the fact that our focus in teaching and learning is less on high stakes tests. I feel like this is a problem that we've been avoiding for years. Showing mastery of subjects is a great goal rather than requiring all kids to be able to sit and do a test for 2 hours. I think the recognition that there are so many neurodivergent people in our community is so liberating. It shows us how we can change our techniques of connecting with every kid to allow them to do their best and to achieve what they want to achieve. There's so many exciting new developments in education that I can't help but feel really hopeful. And I would be very excited to do the hard work that I've done at Skyview Metro Parks and all the PTSAs and all I've worked for. I'd be thrilled to be able to work as hard on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Ram Dutt Vedula Bali.
Thank you. Thank you.
Polly.
Well,
One more time.
okay.
Ram Dutt Vedula Polly. Okay.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I really appreciate the opportunity that I had for the past 4 years. It was incredible. I learned a lot. I appreciated it a lot. And I felt empowered and proud to serve on the board. What I really love is our district's vision to prepare our students for career, as college career and citizenship. So it is truly how we are directing our efforts to ensure that our students have all these 3 assets in there, so that they can do whatever they want. They can be whoever they want, and they can be successful. And that is driven through the leadership at the district. And I am really excited to work with our leadership because they are true professionals and they create the right environment for our students. And the last but not least, community. I really appreciate the community for their generous support financially, but also inclusion and engagement. I'm a fiscally conservative person, so I really focus on how we spend our money in the right way and on effectively. I also bring different perspectives to the table, and that is where I believe I will add the most value. For example, technology. I'm a technologist, and I bring a lot of insights into the conversation about technology. We all have heard of AI is taking over, I guess, but truly preparing our students to real life career or college. All these tools are very critical for our future success of our students. And so I'll be privileged to serve the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The recording for tonight's program will be available on Snow Valley Chamber's YouTube channel and through Facebook. On behalf of the Snoqualmie Valley School District and the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber of Commerce, thank you for allowing me to be the moderator tonight. I want to thank Carolyn Simpson, who's been our past president of the Chamber of Commerce, as well as a 12-year veteran of the school board and her enormous contributions in where we're at today. So thank you, Carolyn. Your work is not forgotten. I also want to thank the 4 candidates that have stepped up. I mean, they're truly remarkable community members, and we deeply appreciate your contributions to date, and also look forward to having some great leadership going forward. And please join me in a round of applause for their stepping up as being candidates. Thank you for being here tonight. Travel home safely.